activities. So that's what we're experimenting with today. We're very grateful to Steve Gray from the Makerspace in Durban, who's going to be talking to us about events as an income model for makerspaces. Steve is going to be telling us some, some detailed tips and tricks, and based on his own experience. One of the things that I'm really curious about, and that I hope we'll get into in the discussion afterwards, is about how transferable these insights are to different situations. So obviously, picking up a business model and implementing it somewhere else in a different makerspace that has different capabilities and a different market, different community around it, is not a straightforward thing. There are definitely things that can be learnt from other makerspaces, but I think the jury is still out on terms of how much can really be passed over in terms of a template. But I'm hoping that we're going to get into some of that discussion today, and I'm looking forward to learning the insights that Steve has gained from when they've been running events in Durban. So thanks all, and over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everybody. Hopefully this is going to be helpful and informative, and I'm going to aim to have it done before the end of the hour. So I don't think we need to dilly-dally, but you never know, maybe things get really exciting and we stay on the call even longer. I'm going to go forward to the first, just to my intro screen, which just to give you some context. So I run a makerspace in Durban. I started it 12 years ago. And one of the first things we experimented with as our sort of minimum viable product was events. Before we even had a space, we ran workshops in other people's studios. And we've developed over 40 different workshops. So we've done all sorts of workshops, probably more than that, because generally lose interest after doing it a few times and go into something new. But everything from Arduino, 3D printing, robotics, to screen printing, knife making, CNC building, yeah, any sort of thing that we can think of, made skateboards, and then figured out how to package that as a workshop, which becomes a product that you can sell. So in all, we've probably run over 250 workshops, both the ones we've created ourselves and workshops we've run for corporates as team builds. And we've marketed and sold thousands of tickets. I'm going to talk a little bit about ticketing and systems, and then we've run, as I said, some corporate team building and workshops. We've done workshops that have been paid for by third parties, and we've done consumer workshops where someone in the public pays you to come and do something and attend. Created and organized an annual maker convention for over 2,000 attendees. So that was also fun, lots of logistics, and if anyone's done a big event, they know that there's always some drama that goes with that. And then when we talk about workshops or events in this context, we're talking specifically about paid workshops for makerspaces. So I'm not going to talk about conventions or conferences. That's sort of professional event management, and that's a bit beyond the scope, although something you could aim for. But we're talking about starting with workshop events that you could do in your makerspace, or from your makerspace as a starting point, as a base. So using the equipment you've got, creating a product of some sort, doing some sort of workshop activity, and selling that either to the participants themselves, or to a funder, or to a sponsor. And that's again where the business model comes in, and that's where I'm interested to hear from you guys as to where your opportunities are and what's worked for you in the past. So if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is just open the little chats window, and where's the chat? You guys got the chat anyway? Okay, there's the chat window. And I'm just going to put my name and press enter. So if you guys could just put your name down there, and then we'll just alphabetize the our first names, and then we'll go in order of alphabet. just to make it easy. So M comes before Steve, so Michael's definitely before me. Anna, you're definitely going first. So while you guys are finding your chat there, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to, you're going to turn on your video, turn on your mic, tell us your name, tell us where you're from. Mark, you're online there. Can you see the 9 steps on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So then, yeah, you guys can see the thing. So we just want to quickly go through like an icebreaker type activity, just to see where you're from, what you've been up to, and then give us 2 experiences you've had from events, so we can all kind of connect with each other and feel each other's pain or excitement, depending on how our history of events has been. Okay, so we got Michael, Anna, Mary, Dawood, Sam. Gertrude hasn't put her name. Felix hasn't put his name yet. So I'll just, and Mawazi. And we got 2 marks as well. So Mark Odiambo must be Kenyan, sure. Okay, so Anna, if you don't mind starting, and then Dawood, you'll be next, and then Felix.
Sure. The name starting with A, I think I definitely my turn to go first. So I'm Anna. I'm based in Scotland in the UK, and I'm not with a makerspace right now. I have been in the past, but my organisation is called Manufacturing Change, and I work with lots of makerspaces, particularly around business models. Could you just go back to the previous slide, Steve? And there's a list of questions. Thanks very much. So a stressful moment when facilitating an event. So the first thing that came to mind when I read that was it was actually an online event rather than an in-person one, or rather it was a hybrid event. I was facilitating a panel discussion in a conference in Geneva. And I was supposed to have 2 panel members in the room with me and 2 panel members online. And I think that would have worked to give a bit of a balance. And then at the last moment, one of the panelists who was supposed to have been physically present changed it to being online, couldn't make it, and joined online instead of being there. And then when we started the event, we'd tested the systems before it started, but when we actually went live at the beginning of the session, we couldn't, in the room, we couldn't hear audio from any of the panelists. It wasn't an internet thing, it was a problem with the room in the conference center we were using. So 3 of the panelists that were online couldn't speak. So I was running a panel session where 3 of the panelists could only contribute via chatting. So that was definitely quite a stressful moment, but it sort of came out okay in the end. We did manage to get some good points from them, asking them to type comments in. That wasn't great. That's it from me. Over to whoever's next in the alphabet.
Thanks, Anna. If you guys look at the chat, it's kind of self-organized, or I don't know, maybe Rebecca's doing it behind the scenes, but you should be able to see the order. So Dawood, you're going to be next. Felix was asked to be skipped because he is occupied, but then Gertrude and then Mary.
Hello, am I audible?
You just jumped the queue though, but let's see if Dawood can connect, and then you go straight after him, Gertrude, please.
Okay, all right. So back to you, Dawood.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm Dawood from Ghana at Kumasi Hive Makerspace. Dawood, okay, my full name is Haruna Dawood Adam, and from Hive Makerspace in Ghana. So as you say, a stressful moment that I've experienced before was when we organized this program called Agritech Hardware Challenge. We've had participants around, but they have this mentality that organizations mostly do that to source for their ideas. So they were not coming up with their main ideas after the design thinking processes. They've had the design thinking process, and now it was time for them to bring out ideas to help the agricultural sector. But they have this in mind that we wanted to source for their ideas. So they were not bringing the ideas. They pretended like they didn't have any idea. So that was very stressful after the program. We couldn't have anybody with any prototype ideas or anything like else again. Yeah, so that was a stressful moment, I think, we've experienced in our workshops, kind of. And yeah, so going forward, we were able to tell them, no, you've had your idea. We are just helping you to build as Makerspace. As one of our functions is to help you build your ideas into reality. There's nothing like resourcing for your ideas for business or to do something with them. So yeah, I think that's all I've got to say now.
Thank you, Dawood.
Hello. Yeah. So my name is Gertrude Mawinago. I'm located in Ghana, Kumasi. Currently, I'm not with any makerspace, but I've had quite a number of experiences running events when I was with the Africa Makerspace Network. There were times we had purely virtual events. There were times we had purely in-person events. And there were times that we had hybrid events. And in all of these instances, there were peculiar challenges that I faced. But what I'd like to talk about now is a challenge that I faced during one of the hybrid events. We had that during the COVID times. We hosted the gathering in Accra, and then we had groups of makerspaces hosted as well in Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and I think one other African country. So everyone hosted it in their spaces, and then we joined together virtually, sort of. And then we had focus group discussions where some of the panelists were in person and some were joining virtually. So we had a lot of technical hiccups and challenges, echoing and all of that. It was crazy, but at the end of the day, I think our technical team were able to figure it out. So what we did going forward was that anytime we have, even if it's a purely hybrid event or purely physical, if it's a purely virtual event or even purely physical, we do a mock-up. We test everything. We set up and do it as if we are actually having the event. And then that would bring up the technical challenges. And then we'll think about how to get it fixed before the actual D-Day. And it made things a lot more easier on the D-Day. Yeah. So
That's great.
it.
That's great learning. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Hi there, I'm Mary Nyamanya from Kenya at FabLab Winam. Recently this year on April, we launched an online marketplace. It was a big event where our target audience were the informal artisans. And the stressful part of the event was organizing it actually, because most informal artisans tend to stay at their workshop rather than attending the event. So we went to their workshop. And during, at one point in the event, we were called for a media press briefing. and we had invited guests. So like the guests in the tent, they were like, we didn't want them to get bored because majority of our staff were being interviewed by the press, and we felt like really the invited guests will feel bored, will get bored because there were no activity happening in the tents. But we managed to cover that by bringing the acrobatics to come and entertain them in the process. Yeah. Thank you.
Well done. Mawazi.
Yeah, hello. Please hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my name is Mausi Azameti. So it's not Mawazi. And I'm also part of Kumasi Hive Makerspace as Dawood, based in Ghana. And yeah. Well, I was also going to share the same story Dawood shared. So basically that's from my end. Yeah.
Okay, so you shared Dawood's stress, eh? Cool.
Yeah. I'm in the same space with Dawood.
And tell us an insight, something you learned doing an event that you maybe wouldn't have learned if you weren't involved in the event. Maybe something you took for granted before or something.
That would be facilitating events actually, because that was something I hadn't done before. So that was my first time, and then we had to go through that stress. So it was an awesome experience. But going forward, we figured it out, and then we were able to work our way around it. So that was also a nice learning moment for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Michael, are you there?
Yeah. Okay. Hello. Is my line clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah. So my name is Michael Dankwa. I'm from the DTI Makerspace in Accra, Ghana. So stressful moments, if I remember. So yeah, I indicated that I have not really organized an event, but I have facilitated one in the past. So I think the wording of the doc, the forms was a bit different from what we have here. So I used to be a media lab coordinator at DTI, and I was using like the resources that we had in the makerspace to enhance the creative arts activities at DTI. So like creating of props for the drama and the plays that they will do at such events. And I also got the opportunity to work with some external partners that DTI got to come and help with setting up an event. So I was like overseeing, let's say, stage lighting and all of that. But recently with what I filled with the inside the form, I was involved in providing support for an event that was held. So it was mostly like a panel discussion with some breakout sessions, and it really had some like high level participants in attendance. There was even a member of the royal family of the UK attending virtually. But then this is part of the stressful bits. So we couldn't hear part of what she was saying because there were some technical hitches. So we got like a brief video of her and then a video cut off, and then she spoke a bit, and then yeah, it was quite stressful. And that was like the first day, that was the opening day. I served as a panelist, and I think the communication between the facilitators and the panelists was quite poor, because I got there and I mean the ushers or whoever didn't even know I was coming on as a panelist. The brochures that I was supposed to be given, where I would even sit, who I was supposed to talk to, I didn't know all of that. So I just went and sat in the audience until our panel lead or the panel moderator came in, and she's like, "Oh, are you Michael?" And then we were able to connect and get it. So I think the communication bit was quite stressful, and then the technical didn't help at all. I left my feedback with the event organizers, because this is supposed to be like a very, very high level event, and these challenges didn't help us at all. Then insights I gained. So I have not actually been involved in a paid event. Most of my events have been free. But with the one I'm talking about, maybe I'll take it with the media lab coordination I did and the events that we held. So I think working with like different groups to make such an event work really helps.
I think you're breaking up there. But we're gonna go on. Thank you. So we got Mark, and we got Nassau and Sam left. Hello, Mark.
Yes. Hello. My name is Michael Diambo. From IOME 254 in Kenya. So basically all events are successful, but this particular one, actually it was the organizing need. We were doing an innovation boot camp. We just decided to do an innovation boot camp and take all the lab services in a remote village in this one of the informal settlements, which the area didn't even have an electricity. So you can just imagine how the event was, and but at the end, it was personally on all event I've organized, that was the most impactful, and that was still my best event till date. So yeah, and that tell us an insight or you gained from being involved in a paid event or workshop. Not really, I don't know how to answer this, but if I can pin it down, in this workshop I was invited. It's a very high level event, and I'm not even part of the speakers or panelists. But now, when I asked a question and I talked about 3D printers, in fact, the whole panel discussion went to a stop, and they were all amused and wanted to talk about the Fab Lab, because in the coast region, a Fab Lab is a new name, or is not something that is familiarized with, and I ended up talking about the whole lab, talking about the activities we do at this particular workshop, which I was not even part of the agenda, which was a plus for us and plus for the lab. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so guys, just to define again, when we're talking about what this particular training is about events that are like a paid workshop. And when I say workshop, I'm not talking about a speaking event where people are standing on a stage or sitting on a stage and talking. I'm talking about where you're teaching people how to make something and you're making something. So just keep it relevant to events that you've been involved with in terms of coordinating or booking or organizing, and just something that maybe went wrong or went right. So I think Nassau, you next, and then Sam.
Good evening, guys. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my camera is having some issues. So my name is Nasr Mohammed Abdallah. I work with IOME 254, but I work at IOME 005. It's based in Lamu, Kenya. So about a stressful moment that I can remember while facilitating an event. It was an event that I was facilitating to some elderly people. I have facilitated several events for both kids, both elderly women, kind of stuff. But for elderly men, something that new, and among the challenge for it was a rehab client that I was supposed to mentor and guide me along the CNC course. So on the same, it was a bit of a stressful moment because I had to mentor him while also learn from him. He was like a father to me, but I managed to guide him all along and be able to mentor and empower him to that. Even last week, he was able to graduate from the CNC machine operator course. About an insight that again from a paid event was I was facilitating a design thinking session, and what I kept realizing is that solving challenges is all about facilitating the community members towards developing their own community solutions. So it's all about making them coming with their own solutions that are happening in the ground, rather than you prompting for them the solutions. Just leave the flow to them, and they'll be the one defining the ideas by themselves, and they will own the solutions among themselves. Thank you.
Cool, that's helpful. Thanks, Masoor. Sam?
Hi everyone, my name is Sam Shezi. I am from the Makerspace in Durban. So tell us where you're from. And a stressful moment that I experienced while facilitating was during a series of events that we did for ceramic 3D printing. I think it was about 2 years ago. It was both like physical and virtual. So it was an event where we were showcasing something physically with 3D printing, and also we were doing like a virtual, like one-on-one talks with designers and creatives. So a very stressful one for me personally because of the fact that it was both physical and virtual, and I had to sort of do both aspects of the physical and virtual. So like, I mean, with 3D printing, things always go wrong, and you just, like every single time you do something and like something goes wrong, there's almost no way to prepare for it. So we always had prints that were failing while we were doing the presentation about the actual technology. And sometimes we'd talk to people and we'd like ask for suggestions and they wouldn't talk back, and it was kind of a little bit stressful. So it was very much the technical side of things that was quite stressful. And insights that I learned, probably just like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So you have to always like be like 10 times like very prepared for anything that can go wrong. Just assume that it will go wrong. Yeah. Thank you.
Good insight, Sam. Anyone we haven't heard from is Rebecca, but I don't know if she's wanting to share something she's learned with events, or if she is just behind the scenes on this one.
What's your,
I
did you have a
can
course starting?
say something just quickly. Now I did can you hear me all right?
Yes,
Yeah,
good.
okay. I used to do events with surgical committees. So top level surgeons would do like hybrid and in-person events. So yeah, one thing I've learned from that is preparation is very important. And with the particular people I was working with, it's understanding the relationships there and kind of how to maybe talk and conduct yourself in a certain manner in order to be understood, and maybe also having an understanding of how they work. Like, for example, in-person meetings, we'd always encourage laptops, but having paper printouts of like the agenda and the information was a lot of people preferred. So that was something we do in the end. So that's so not in a makerspace environment, but similar, like in just preparation and understanding their particular audience and how to accommodate that. I hope that makes some sense.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. So guys, if you could just put in the chat your insights that you had, those little takeaway insights, like Gertrude said, do a dry run beforehand. Sam said, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, so prepare for things to go wrong. Have a fallback. So any of the insights you have, just put them in that chat so we've got them on record, and we can share them. So I didn't have, I mean, this whole presentation is going to be kind of answering the questions you guys have just answered. So I'm not going to give a specific answer. I'm going to go on to the next thing. But what I will do is I'll tell you a little story. So story time. Wait, so I need to turn this blurry thing off first. Okay, so if you can see my screen. So funny story, the British Council did fund us for a little while, and Prince Harry came to town, and he came to like have a look at all the work that the British Council had funded. So here I am showing him 3D scanning technology. But the day before he came, it was a big secret because it was like security protocols and things. So the project manager had told us that there was an event and there was a VIP, but we didn't know who it was. But my wife was very interested in who it was because obviously curiosity. For me, it wasn't really a thing. I was there to show my robots and my 3D printing. So I was just like, yeah, whatever. It's probably some guy, some, you know, like ambassador of some place that you've never heard of. So it really didn't interest me. But there was this like interest growing. And then my wife was like asking me like, have you found out who it is yet? Have you found out who it is yet? And I was like, no. And then on the way to the accommodation, the project manager picked us up, and we were going in a big van, and she was sitting in the row in front of me, and I was sitting in the row behind. And she said, have you guys figured out who it is yet? And I said, no, I haven't even thought about it. And she said, you can't tell anyone, but it's Prince Harry. And obviously she was like excited about it, and you know, pretty much everyone is excited about it. And so I then messaged my wife saying it's Prince Harry. And as I press send, the project manager's phone vibrates, and she looks at her phone, and then I've sent her the message. So she turns around and says, I told you not to tell anyone. And I just sort of try to pretend that I'd sent it to her on purpose. I think I said, hey, babe, it's Prince Harry. That was a little bit of a funny one. And then when I actually met Prince Harry, somebody came up to me, the handlers, and they said to me, this lady had to like go and talk to everyone. There were like 300 different people involved, and it was like these different stands. So each project had its own little showcase, and then Prince Harry came through, and you'd go to all of them, and we were near the end. And they said, okay, when he gets to you, you must say, this is the protocol. You've got to say, hello, Your Royal Highness. And I'm like, well, he's not really my Royal Highness. I don't think I'm just going to call him Harry. And she was like, no, you can't do that. I'll lose my job. And I was like, then I felt bad. I was like, oh, shame. I don't want to get her in trouble. But at the same time, like, I don't, like, this guy's not my royal whatever. I'm like, I'm a free man here. I don't have to call anyone anything. So in my mind, it was like, sort of like, not really sure what I was going to do. Because one part of me wanted to call him Harry, and the other part of me didn't want to get the lady in trouble and say, Your Royal Highness. But I was having this conflict. And then he came to our stand, but the stand before us was my friend's stand, and they had developed this digital game, and they needed 6 players, and they had Prince Harry and the mayor, and then the 3 of them, and they needed the 6 players. So they said, hey, Steve, come join us. So I like just walked into this game, and you know, I was ready to play, but I hadn't like clicked into like introduction mode because it wasn't my turn yet. But Prince Harry's obviously quite sharp because he does this all the time. So he stretched out his hand and says, oh, hello, Steve, because he's obviously heard them call me Steve. So I'm just like stuck in my mind, like what to call him. So I just said, how's it, brew? And how's it, brew is it's very much like a slang Durban thing. It's like very like low key. It's not like, you know, it's like beach bums kind of speak. And we're like, hey, brew, how's it, brew? So all the surfers call each other that. And so, yeah, in all my sort of like not really sure what to say and follow the protocol, I just ended up calling him Brew. And then he said, I like your beard. And I said, thanks, man. I didn't even call him Royal Nothing. Didn't even call him Harry. Called him Brew and man. Anyway, hopefully that's entertaining. Kind of feel like I'm talking to the wall, but I trust that was humorous for you guys. Cool. So on to the next slide. Okay, so selling tickets online. All right, so thanks. Got a little lol there from Felix. Thank you, Felix. So selling tickets online for your events. And we're talking here, remember, about could be a collaborative workshop. It could be a training workshop. Could be a convention type thing or conference. But you're trying to market your event. So images are very important. So that's something that we learned. You need a really good photo, and ideally the photo speaks 1,000 words. So the photo tells you what you're going to get at the event. And as a makerspace, you should be doing something makery, right? You should be making something. So what are you making? And take a photo of it. And that photo can't be too unrealistic about what's possible, but it shouldn't also be like a very terrible photo that you took on your iPhone 1 in a dark room. You know, you want a nice photo of a nice product that attracts people, and they kind of think, oh, I want that. So the next thing is targeting your ads. So if you want to reach everyone, you won't reach anyone. You need to figure out who's your market. Okay, well, there's another slide next about that. And then target your ads on social media, like, you know, use Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, but drive people to your website. So use, you know, create the event on your website and then share that on the social, so that people come back to your website and you then control the relationship with them. We did in the beginning try and put events on Facebook and use their calendar, but we didn't get value out of it. And then we lost that data. So much better to control your own data. And then create layers of value. So the nice thing about a makerspace is you're going to give an educational element, which is they're learning a new skill. You're going to have fun because it's fun to make things. So there's entertainment. They're going to get to meet people. And then we're not talking now online events, we're talking in-person events. And people think about it, they spend money on dating apps, they spend money on social clubs and associations just to meet people. So by putting people together, you're already creating value. And then if they can take home a product, something they made, then they've got the product value. So there's all these layers of value, and you don't have to charge for all of them. You can just charge for one or two of them, and then the other ones are free, and that makes the event feel like it's good value for money from the person's point of view. Okay, so event. So if you guys can just put in the chat, I'm not gonna. We spend quite a long time chatting just now, so I'm gonna jump through the more obvious stuff. I'm not gonna get everyone to answer this question, but if you think about what are the costs and revenues of an event, so just think about it yourself now. What things would cost money in order to run an event, a workshop? And you've got to sell whatever that costs for more than what it costs, so that you've got some profit. So costs would be the facilitator, the person who's going to run the workshop, and the staff that are going to come to run that workshop. You're going to have to pay them something. The cost would be your materials. So whatever you're using. So if you're doing an Arduino workshop, you might need to supply electronics. If you're doing laser cutting, you might need to supply a chopping board. And there's also the venue hire cost. Now, most of you are going to be running events in your own venue, but you should still factor that in, because you still have to pay rent. And if you were going to run this as a business and you want it to be sustainable, you would need to run it at a venue. So figure out what the market charges for a venue and charge that and build that into the price, and then pay that back to your makerspace. And that's the form of revenue. And then you're going to have to pay for marketing. You should pay for marketing, because you wanting to sell tickets. So, you know, if it costs you $1 to sell a $10 ticket, then spend however many people you want, 10 people, spend $10 and you'll get 10 people, right? And then the last thing you could be a cost is food and drinks, if you're going to supply those, which normally you don't want people hangry at your event. And then in terms of revenues, the other side of it is that you can sell tickets, you can sell sponsorship, like advertising sponsorship to sponsors if you've got that relationship, and you can sell food and beverages if you're going to supply that. Alcohol is a bit of a gray area, because not everybody is in favor of monetizing alcohol, and there's licensing, and there's, you know, drinking and driving, and there's all these issues. But the fact is, alcohol, and we've never done it, but alcohol definitely is something that you can make a lot of profit on, because people spend money on that, and they're happy to spend money on that. So if you add that in, you could increase the revenue of your events if it's relevant to your workshop and your organization. And then again, ticket sales, you can sell your tickets to individuals, which is kind of what the point of this exercise is. But there are times when you can package that workshop and sell it to someone like a sponsor, who will then pay for you to do it for other people, like we did with Sam was talking about with the design workshop for the 3D printing. we were sponsored by the French embassy. And so they bought the tickets, and then we invited people, VIPs, to be part of that. Targeting your event. So again, just to focus on targeting, don't try and reach school children and business owners and consumers at the same time. You're going to scare them off, and they're going to confuse them. So choose your market and design the event accordingly. So you need to choose one, and you could do three different events for three different markets. But even though it's the same thing, maybe it's 3D printing. You can't do 3D printing for school children, 3D printing for businesses, and 3D printing for consumers at the same time. You can do those individually, and you can reach those targets individually. So the question here is, which marketing groups can you think of who would pay for an event? So if anybody's got anything they want to add in the chat, if you don't mind using the chat, so that's probably a way that we can engage without it taking too long. So as we're talking and there's questions or there's suggestions or comments, please just add them in the chat. So Felix is saying you can sell exhibition space, tables, and stalls. I don't know if he's saying you should sell that, or if those, yeah, those are people who, which groups are going to pay for an event. All right, so hopefully you guys are thinking and clicking over, and we're on the same page here, but I'm just going to list the ones I thought of, which is you can have the general public, consumers, so people that are on the internet and in your local area. You could have school children. That could be private schools, or it could be public schools. You could have corporate company team building and conferences. You could have business to business targeted events. You could have NPO funders. You could have government organizations. And Anna's put professionals who want to learn a new skill or hobby. Yes, you could focus on a group of professionals. Maybe it's doctors, maybe it's sports scientists, whatever, and target that event for those people. I don't know, though, the general skills in a makerspace might not overlap. Like we did do one event where we did target to health professionals around prosthetics. And what came out of that event was like they were saying you need a lot of regulation. And so we realized as a makerspace, we weren't really qualified to kind of lead that sort of development. So the thing with each of these is that you get a different market value. So a corporate company will pay more for an event, like a team building event, than school children will pay. But school children will be way more excited than team building people. Team building people are there like probably to have drinks and to they're not really interested in making stuff because someone's paid for them to come, and half of them are not interested. Whereas consumers who've paid for their own ticket are way more engaged. So you get you got to decide, where you want to play. So I think that kind of covers that section. Next question is that values relative to your market. So kind of continuing that point is, if you're wanting to make more money, you have to go to a market that has more money to pay for the thing, and you have to target it towards them. And if it's more premium, exclusive, those kind of things, you can make more money. If it's more outreach and educational, you're going to make less money, but maybe feel you're doing more good. And then maybe you need to cross subsidize that with funders. But that's kind of, you got to figure out, if we're doing events as a business model, then obviously the point is to make money. So think about it. So one of the things I want to say that I learned is that you should start with a higher ticket price. Okay, so this is a pro tip here. Whatever you think it's worth, like making a clock. You can buy a clock mechanism for, in our country, 40 Rand. But a clock, working clock, looks like a 500 Rand item or 300 Rand item. So it's, the cost of cutting a piece of MDF is 10 Rand. So your total cost might be 50, excluding the cost of the venue and the cost of the facilitator. But your hard cost is 50, but that thing has a perceived value of 500. So it's 10x. And so, that's how you can create value. And then even the 500, you think, oh, but who's going to pay that? Somebody's unmuted there. Even if you think it's worth 500, you should still market it at 700, because you can discounts. Okay, so you create a perceived value, like the advertised value is higher than what you think it is, what you feel like, I shouldn't really charge that much, but you charge it that much, and then you discount, and then people see people booking and it's about to sell out, and then they feel like, wow, this is really worth that much because someone's paying that much. So have early bird specials. You know, you can have early bird specials right up until the day before. You can have limited time specials. You can find a way to actually charge the 500 that it is really worth, but still keep the headline price higher, and it will help you. And you'll be pleasantly surprised at how many people actually pay the asking price, so that you won't lose. You won't have like an empty workshop where only 2 people came that paid full price, and they kind of felt like, wasn't that happening? You can have a full workshop, but you can also get the most possible money as you can. And you'll also learn what things are worth by pushing your boundaries, pushing the envelope, which I think is very valuable as far as building a business model. And you're also signaling to the market what the value of the experience is by putting the headline price. And when they see the pictures of the events and people having fun, their perception will move towards the new price. Because it's social validation. That's how we as humans are. If you see 10 people all like having had fun and they all paid more than you thought, then your brain adjusts and goes, oh, maybe it was worth that because these people seem to have had fun. So here's a little rule of thumb for pricing small workshops. So I'm talking to you guys now who are at work at Makerspaces. This is either for your Makerspace or even for your own, for your participants at your Makerspace, for your stakeholders, or for yourself. You want to make a bit of a side hustle. You want to make a bit more money. If you're not doing it specifically for the Makerspace and you're doing it for yourself, run a workshop for 10 people. Teach them how to use a laser cutter. But don't just say, I'm doing laser cutting lessons, because nobody's looking for laser cutting lessons. What are people looking for? They're looking for a Valentine's gift or a Mother's Day gift. So then you create a laser cut product that fills that market, and you run a workshop around that. So they get the benefit of the product itself and the learning and the fun and the social elements. And so it feels like good value. So this is something you guys can do in your Makerspace. You could literally do it tomorrow, but you need a bit of time to prepare. So for these small little workshops, 3-hour workshops, something like that, there's a rule of thumb, which is the cost of the materials plus the cost of the trainer. So the cost of materials should be roughly equal to the cost of the facilitator. Trainer should be roughly equal to the profit. So it's a rule of thirds. Okay, so if you spend 100 Rand on a clock mechanism, clock face, and laser cutting time and venue, and 100 Rand per person on facilitator, then you should make 100 Rand per person profit. So you end up with a ticket price that's roughly 3 to 4 times the cost of material. Try and go 4, because then you make more money. But sometimes you've got to, if your materials are more expensive, like you're doing electronics, maybe doing Arduinos and things, then maybe you have to have a slightly lower multiple. And then you should spend 10% on marketing. Okay, so the little bit of money that you're going to give Facebook or Instagram to market is probably worth it, because for every 10 people that see the adverts, they're going to sign up and you're going to end up selling a ticket. So if you can figure out a mechanism where cost of selling the ticket is like less than the profit, then spend as much as you can on that, because that's basically scalability. That's what every internet company is looking to do. Then timing. What is the minimum time you need to market an event? So if you can quickly put it in the chat there, I'd love to see what you guys think the minimum time is that's required. And it says 2 weeks. Thank you, Anna. Anybody else got any suggestions? 1 month? Okay, 1 month. All right. 1 week, Sam? Sam, you're the one who said everything can go wrong, that will go wrong, and you want to do it in a week. Okay, I'm going to give you advice here. My advice is at least 3 weeks to market an event in order to sell it out. So you might take a week to prepare for the event, like sure, but you need to give people the time to plan their diary, because not everyone leaves things till the last minute. So they have other things, birthdays, they have things that they committed to. By the time they see your event marketing a week before, they're not ready to commit. It seems like it's too much of a rush, and you won't sell out your event, and then you won't, then you'll still have to pay a facilitator, and you won't make it's not worth doing. You don't make enough profit. So at least 3 weeks to market the events, plus however many more weeks it takes you to prepare. But I think don't overthink that either. So some Makerspace events that work. So again, this is very practical, on the ground advice. We're not talking high-level conferences here. We're talking about you this weekend being able to run a workshop, you know, besides the fact that you need to have marketed it 2 weeks ago, but what can you run? What can you do that people will pay you for, right? So custom laser etching, you can do chopping boards, travel mugs, anything you can etch, you know, phone stands, but think about the product that has a perceived higher value. So again, the cost of a chopping board, if you buy a cheap one, in my country, can be 70 Rand. It's a piece of wood. And an etched chopping board as a gift could be 350 Rand. So you've got like 4 or 5 times what the actual raw material cost is. Obviously, then your laser time costs and your you know, so that rule of thirds. But don't do like something like a coaster, because the perceived value of a coaster is like 10 Rand. So, you know, it doesn't really make sense for someone to come pay 300 Rand to do a workshop that does a poster. Then they'll only be coming because of the skill they're learning, and which is also value. But what I like to do is you want them to get the value of the product and the value of the training for the cost of one of those. So they feel like they're getting really good value. So choose products that, like I said, have some perceived value of being higher. So then laser cutting, you can do things like the clock I talked about. You get those cheap little clock mechanisms. I promise you, in wherever you are in the world, those things are cheap. And the laser cutting of MDF is cheap. So that's going to be, it's going to be cheap to do, the cost of materials, but the perceived value is going to be much higher than what it costs you. So then it's an easy one, you're making profit. Christmas decor, again, like it's something custom, so people will pay for it around Christmas time. Everyone gets excited, they want to decorate the Christmas tree. With this one, you want to have some files that are pre-prepared, so that they can sort of like choose from a shopping list of and lay them out and have a predefined size, so that you don't have one person, because one person will want to print the whole bed and it'll take the whole night and no one else will get a chance. So you give everyone a limited size and give them a few designs, and then you can try and teach them some design software, and maybe if they're designers, they got their own things, but you want everyone to be able to win. So think about that in terms of planning your event for like low, medium, and high skill levels. And then things like jewelry boxes and jewelry stands also perceived more value. 3D printing can be a bit more tricky because it takes time. If you've got 3D printers, you'll know that. What we would do with the 3D print event is we would do the design element ahead of time when we print it overnight or the next few days, and they come pick it up later. So depending on how close they are to you and if that's practical, don't try and 3D print a custom design thing that's going to be done on the night. It's just not going to happen. But things like lithophanes, it's like that thin little thing with the reverse of a photo, and when you lift it up to the light, the photo comes out. It's quite like a wow moment. It's very cool, very easy to do on Cura. That's a great workshop right there. Key rings, little characters. Again, if you advertise it and that's what people want, you can do it. Leather craft, so leather's got a perceived high value. People like leather. So laser cutting is very good at, laser cutters are very good at cutting leather. So you can get your own patterns. We used to do leather workshops where we would make wallets. And so we had designed a pattern. Once we had our pattern, we could sell that pattern to everyone as a wallet, but they come and stitch it themselves. It's quite a nice event, and they go home with that custom etch and they feel like great about it. Paper craft masks, you know, for like Comic Cons or yeah, dress ups, those sort of things. People can see value in those. And then themed workshops is always an opportunity to sell themed workshop. Valentine workshop, so it's for guy and girl as a date. You know, people want something fun to do. They come to the Makerspace, they make like a heart stuff or deco for their wall at home. It says live, laugh, love, or whatever. Mother's Day, make something for your mom. Father's Day, make something for your dad. Again, the chopping boards and those kind of things are easy ones. And then, as I said, the Christmas decors. So, so that is some things that can be done. And communication is important. So something I've learned is people want to hear from you more than less. Okay. But not everyone wants to be overwhelmed with all the details. The best way to do it is to drip feed the communication. So, so you do it in a way that's, and again, you have the time to plan the 3 weeks. That means you get your bookings 2 weeks ahead of time, means you can send your first reply on reservation. And then what we would do is you reserve a place, but it's not reserved until, or you book, but it's not reserved until you've paid. And then we'll warn them like, this is filling up and you need to pay, otherwise you're going to lose your booking. Okay, it's very important. I'll double back on that in 2 minutes. Then the confirmation payments of email with the payment details, like how they can pay. everything clear and explained. And then once they've paid, then the booking response, thank you, we've got your booking. We're looking forward to see you next week. And this is what you should prepare, like download the software or look at Pinterest and these sort of things, or here's a web link. 3 days before, hey, we're really excited. Just remember, we're not supplying food, bring your own lunch, whatever you want to have to say. And then the day before, just remember, here's the location, get there 5 minutes early or 10 minutes early or half an hour early. And by doing that, everyone comes prepared, everyone comes with everything they need, and you have a good workshop. When you leave it all to the last minute and you send one email, no one gets to read and no one comes with what they need, and it's not as good. So by the time the event day comes, everyone's excited and they know everything that's going to happen, and you have a great event. Booking systems. So again, I was going to ask you guys what booking systems you've used in the past, but I'm going to jump ahead because I know that it's Tuesday and it's 4 o'clock. Everybody's thinking, yes, nearly time to go now. So booking system that I used was called WordPress Events, WP Events. There's many types of booking systems like this. I mean, I've used Quicket and Ticketmaster type things where there's sort of a booking and payment system, but I like to have control over the whole thing myself. So this one allowed me to put in everything I need. So it automates the emails, and person can sign up, put their email and their contact, and then the system can email them all that detail that is going to be the same every time. The bank account's not going to change, the location's not going to change, the general advice on how long the events take or when to get there, all those kind of things, what accessibility, any of those things that people are going to phone you and ask you about, and you're going to have to manage. So get that all down as a template, so it saves yourself time. And then in the end, that makes your event more profitable because you don't have to keep answering the same questions over and over. And it's nightmare to have to manage people who've booked an event on different channels. When they're asking you questions, someone's WhatsApped you, someone's emailed you, someone's Twittered you, someone's this you, and you can't remember who you've told, who you haven't told, and then people get the wrong address, and then everyone's upset. So you just get everything lined up and just make something that's, spend some time building that system so that it works nicely for you. Okay, so Eventbrite as an example, they might change the system. Next thing, it doesn't work the way you had it before. Now you got to re-engineer your system. So again, nice to have control. I would advise this WP Events because it's free and it works good enough for what you would need as a makerspace. There's going to be a bit of investment in time if you don't have WordPress. Then it's a lot of time and energy. Then you need to find someone who's good at that sort of stuff. But you can automate the communication. So what we would do is we put a Facebook post, which would be a link on our webpage to the booking form. Then at the booking form, you book and it sends you an email with the banking details. It also sends you a link where you can pay online, if depending on how you want to pay, or you want to receive payment. Then it sends you an email confirmation when you've paid. Then you can send out the event email. It gives you everyone's details in a table you can download, and you can then email everyone and contact them all in the same thing. And you can do these timed emails. And then you can even email them at the end, a link to the media that you created, like all the photos you took. And then you can also then remarket future events to them. So you can email them. So some of these systems, when you're using a third party, they're not going to they're not going to give you the data, which is a bit of a problem. And then in terms of feedback, just a small point here is don't listen to the people who don't buy the tickets as much as the people who do. Okay, so some people might tell you the tickets are too expensive, but if you sell out, then the tickets are not too expensive because you found enough people that are willing to pay the price. So remember, we're talking about business model development here. We're not talking about non-profit events. We're talking about these are the events that we're running to try and make profit for our makerspace, try and make money for our makerspace. The events that someone else is paying you to do, even as a makerspace, you should still build them to be sustainable and financially sustainable, meaning you charge more than what it costs you. So yeah, just in terms of feedback. And then, so quickly, I'm going to show you if you're sharing your screen, change which screen I'm going to share. Share. I think maybe I am. Yeah, you guys can see my whole screen. Oh, that screen. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly click onto some of the events we've done. So like knife making workshop. Okay, quite like making knives, and I started making knives, and then I thought, well, let me just do this as an event. So I do only 10 people because it's quite a intense event, a lot of grinding and metal and dangerous tools and heat, and a lot of people like very excited. So it's a lot. So we charge a bit more for it, and then it's very clear what it is, right? So we're saying there are only 10 spots, the class sells out very quickly. Okay. So there's an update, there's only one space left. Okay. Then there's a 4-hour-long class where you learn some basic blacksmith skills, as well as learning about composites and creating your own knife handle. Go home with your very own handmade custom bush knife, suitable for children over 13, only if accompanied by an adult. Again, you want to, by the time when you've done 100 events, you start to learn what's important to explain. And because if you don't put that, someone's going to bring the 10-year-old kid and drop them off, and you're going to be like, whoa, what am I supposed to do now? And then also explain what they're getting, like make it clear, like you're going to take home the knife. Because then that's like, wow, that's now worth something. Whereas if you weren't clear about that, they might think, oh, it's just, you're going to watch you make a knife or something. The knife blanks tells you what it's made of, technical, right? N690s, because some knife enthusiasts out there is going to be like, well, that's cool, you know? And so you explain it. But this is the sales process. You want to give people all the information they need so that they're ready to buy the ticket. They're not going to have to ask you anything. Handles are made from composite materials, fast curing polyurethane resin, all technical. You can choose to add your own colors and tints. Bring something special to add to your knife handle. We've had a piece of a wedding veil, coffee grounds, wood shaving, brass fillings, amongst other things. So you invite people to come to bring something. Then it would give the map, the dates and the time, and then there would be an area to book here how many tickets you want. And I would only let people book 2 tickets at max, because I don't want one person messing up my system by booking all 10 tickets and then not coming. So that would be knife making. And then what we do is we take this web page and we copy that onto Facebook, and then we monetize that post so that when people click on it, they end up here on your website, they book through your website, and you're in control. So here's one we did for chopping boards, very much similar, explaining all the details, the costs. Here's the Christmas decoration one, giving some examples. And here's the back end for the Valentine's one. So there's the actual web page. And then this was past events. Why was I going to show you this? Okay, I'm going to close these now. Yeah, so I think that was just a bit of how we do it on the back end. And get back to the presentation. Okay, so other learnings. Where are we here? Okay, so we did the quick demo. Present. Okay, so for physical workshops, okay, these are typical tips. People are intimidated by things they haven't done before. So like making a knife, it sounds exciting, but like it's also like, am I going to be able to do it? So that's where you want to explain to them, yes, anyone, no matter what skill level, you can come, or you need to be an expert, but just explain it so people know whether they can qualify or not. But their assumption is going to be they're not going to, it's intimidating, something they haven't done before. Sounds hard, like making your own clock sounds very hard, but it's actually not. If you've prepared the workshop well, it's very easy. So remember also that you want people to click the button and pay. So you need to give them enough information and reassurance so that they're comfortable to order and to pay for a ticket to your event. And then I like to say, like, make sure everyone goes home with the thing. Okay, you're a makerspace, you're working in a makerspace, you've got machines there. At the very least, go home with a key ring, but much better to go home with the product. So don't build your events in a way that only half the people are finished before everyone leaves. Design it in a way so that you've got a maximum amount of cutting time per person. So you only have 10 minutes to cut on the laser, because 10 people is going to take 2.5 hours. And if you do any more than 10 minutes, you know, one person go for half an hour, they come with this amazing picture they want to etch. It's going to take an hour to etch. They're the only one who gets the thing, and everyone else is disappointed. So you've got to like be quite strict about, you know, you've got to actually bring it down a notch from being super creative and super custom to like, you can choose a picture, You've got 10 minutes, and that's the size that's going to work, you know? So you need to prepare that ahead of time, or you're going to hate your life when people are starting to get complaining at the end of that event. They don't have their thing yet. But if they get to go home with the thing, every single person, they pay for the thing, they see the photo is what draws them. They go, oh, I want a clock, I want a wallet, I want a knife. Okay, I'm really going to get to make this. They come, they learn how to use a laser machine, even if it's mostly just watching you and your facilitator, but they're involved somehow. They co-designing it, and then they go home with that thing. They feel like amazing, and they think this is the best time of their life. And so they're going to be excited, and they're going to talk about it, and they're going to share it. And everyone goes in their house, they're going to say, I made that clock. Other advice is have at least 2 people working in events. No matter how small, you need 2 people, because you can't be teaching or facilitating and fixing something that's broken, or, you know, answering the door or the phone while you've got people. So you need at least 2, that's your base, and then add 1 assistant per 10 people at the minimum, because the more people, the more problems. So yeah, I would normally do an event, I'd normally have 3 people there. I'd rather have an extra pair of hands than not. When we talk about stressful, yeah, that's when it gets stressful. When you are the only person, you got 10 people waiting on you, and you've got to go and, you know, you've run out of material, and you've got to go and like make a plan, but you can't because you've got these people waiting for you. So definitely have more people. They don't have to be super qualified. They just need to, you know, be able to help you. Remember, most people are there for the fun of it, so make it fun. Be careful to go down the rabbit hole with one person who's super technical on a thing. Like there's a guy who came to a knife making workshop, and you want to talk about every detail about knife making, which is cool for him, but the rest of the people are bored and they're waiting for you, and you just sort of locked in with this one person. So you have to be able to like say no to people, and that's not very easy for some of us. We're quite helpful people. We want to help everyone. We don't want to cut people off. We want to be kind, but we have to think of the group and go, okay, we need to protect the group from any one person almost like taking more than they're giving. So if that one person takes all the laser time, or that one person takes all your time or all the materials, you've got to make it fair for everyone. Okay, remember to be a great host. So try and make people feel welcome. It can be stressful running an event, but at the end of the day, people will forgive if it doesn't go perfectly well, as long as they can see you trying, and you're kind, and you've been thoughtful, and you haven't like try to rip them off, which I'm sure you guys wouldn't do. So other learnings, and this again is encouragement, is you don't need to be an expert. So maybe some of you are sitting there going like, okay, cool, but you don't have any events you can run because you're not an expert in certain things. And my theory is you only need to be 2 weeks better than the person you're teaching, because, you know, there's a lot of learning you do in 2 weeks, and they don't know what's next because they've still got to do the first 2 weeks. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to know how to turn the machine on, cut the round circle if that's what the workshop is, and that's cool, or sand it, or whatever it's going to be. So don't disqualify yourself and say, well, I've got to get my 10,000 hours of laser cutting or 3D printing before I run a workshop, because the person coming is not going to be, unless you're marketing it for experts, which I wouldn't advise you do. You're marketing it as a fun entertainment, edutainment type thing, something for people to do and something for them to go home with. Yeah, I mean, I've done many events where I'm literally making it up as I go along, and they've all gone really well. As long as I know what I'm doing, and I've done it once before, I know that I can do it again. So I would say, yeah, okay. So I think I made the point of don't oversell it though. So you can say to people, like what we did is I made a skateboard out of wood, just like that I had, and as an engineer, I know kind of how things work. So I laminated this thing with wood, and I made this nice concave skateboard, and it's like, you know, 3-dimensional. And I use little laser cut blocks and like stuff to make it like form it. And then I cut it with a jigsaw, and it came out really well. And then somebody saw it, and they're like, wow, that's so cool. I want to make one of those. I thought, okay, cool. Let me make a workshop. So 2 weeks later, we did a workshop. I'd only ever made one skateboard in my life. And then I now had 8 people. They all like asking me what to do next. And I just went through the same process, and we had fun. But I told them, you know, like, hey, look, this is my own process. I came up with it 2 weeks ago. I'm not marketing this as like, you know, experts best ever. So that's, as long as your expectations are right, you'll be fine. So even bringing people together around a common interest is creating value. So you could actually not know a thing about Arduino, and say, hey guys, we're going to do a workshop about Arduino. It's going to be a meetup. You know, it's 100 Rand each. Or I'll supply kits for 500 Rand, and you know, we're gonna go on the internet and just teach each other. Just by getting people who have the same interest together, you're creating some value. You obviously can't charge a huge amount for a workshop where you don't know anything, but you can still monetize that meetup just around the common interest. And then if you know just a little bit, like how to do the blink sketch, you teach them that, because that's the first lesson. So it doesn't matter, you know, if you have a computer science degree, you still got to learn the first lesson. And then I also advise, don't offer refunds. Like, don't make it easy for people to mess you around. Rather give them credit for future workshops or makerspace services. Okay, you can have a refund or a credit towards laser cutting or whatever services you guys offer. And then only give that to people who have a genuine reason for non-attending, because otherwise people will just mess you around. They just like phone and say, oh, something else has come up. Can they just get their money back? And you say, no, I'm sorry, we don't offer refunds. Then they'll go, okay, then they come anyway and they enjoy it. But if you too, and this took us time to learn, you know, if you're too accommodating, it ends up hurting you. And then very, 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 very important thing that I learned is take payments on booking. Okay, once the money's changed hand, what happens is there's this contract that happens in people's minds. They don't realize it, but if you give someone 5 Rand or 10 Rand or $1, whatever it might be, as soon as you give them the money, there's a contract, unspoken contract of like, I've given you money and you're going to give me a service or a workshop or whatever. And now to break that contract is like a lot more effort than just to not come to something or ghost you. And you'll see that people will, the fall off rates go way down. So even when we do free workshops, this is like a hack. We've realized that we're doing a free workshop and someone's paid us to do it. And the funder said, here's a 500 Rand workshop. We want you to give it away to people who can't afford it. And we go, cool, but we're still going to charge them 10 Rand, because if they don't pay anything, then we can't count on them actually coming. And that works really well. So for all those reasons, take payments on booking, also for cash flow reasons as well. And you'll see that your attendance is much better and your planning can be much better, because people will say they're going to come, and then in the end they don't, and now you don't have a full workshop, and it's actually ruins it for everyone. So rather take book payments, and then you know, like if you're a week out and you've only got 2 bookings and you've run the specials and you're like, okay, let's cancel, let's postpone this workshop. And you can then, you know, save yourself time and money. Okay, so that is pretty much it from me. And we've nearly used up the whole allotted time, so it did go longer than planned. I hope that you guys got value out of that. If anyone has a specific question they want to ask, just put it in the chat now. If anyone has any other points, I know it's been a little bit one-directional, so I've just been telling you guys stuff. If you don't mind, like adding some highlights or some learnings that you have in the chat, because, you know, like I saw some of you guys have had like some quite a lot of event experience, and I think we all want to be more efficient. Anna, did you have a hand there?
I was giving you a hand, Steve.
Okay, cool.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Cool. Has anyone got a question? Like, I had some listed down that could, like, people might have if they haven't done too many events.
So I actually have one myself, which was, how do you handle it when you're doing events that are aimed at children? Do you have any advice for like marketing, when you're marketing to the parent, not to the child who's going to come to the workshop?
Yeah, I think the advice number one is to have someone who's really good with kids, like facilitating. So I don't do children workshops unless I have, like, people come and ask me, they're like, I want to send their kid. And I at one point had a lady who was a school teacher and very good with children, and that was like her passion. When she was around, we did kids workshops all the time, but without her, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that on. It's very stressful. It's a different level of stress. We had one child throw a tantrum and run down the stairs and across the road and climb a tree. And it's like, we had to phone his mom and say, can you please come collect him? But it's like, that kind of drama is not really what I'm up for. So yeah, I think with children, what I would always do is have at least one parent. So you explain to them that they have to attend with the child. And so you make it the parent's problem in a sense. If you're going to take responsibility for their kids, then just be prepared for that. It's a lot of responsibility. And I have my own children. I don't need to look after other people's children. And I always feel bad charging children or parents. Like, I don't know why. That's my own issue. Felix?
How's it? Yeah, we also used to run a lot of workshops. We used to run kids. We started off trying to run kids workshops as well, and yeah, had burnt our fingers in a similar way. You end up running people dumping kids, and it's a profitable space to operate in because parents look for stuff for their kids to do, and they, something creative or something building their skills. So there was always lots of takers, but we ended up running a creche, basically just babysitting people's kids, and chaos. Then we later on, and it might be something to look at if you're looking at running things for kids, as we ran parent and kids workshops. So it was like dad and son or dad and daughter, and we basically sold a double ticket so that you basically had the parent there with the kid, and then that suddenly added a lot of value because parents also want to do stuff with their kids. So it was like an educational, creative thing. And then by sort of like the end of the thing, we basically had a babysitter for, each parent was, and it was not our problem to babysit the kids. And that actually worked really well. We could charge like twice as much per ticket because we added value, because it was a parent-kid thing. We had the babysitter that came with the kid. And those workshops, we are almost towards the end of the Maker Station, we almost only did parent and kid workshops because we actually, we basically gained it so that we could charge twice as much for a ticket, have the babysitter there. You end up adding a lot of value. Like you say, you end up, they walk away with something, they spend quality time together, etc., etc. So that was just how we dealt with kids. Might be useful.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Felix. Any other questions or suggestions or learnings before we wrap it up?
Hello,
Mark.
Yeah, this is a question that we also discussing with Anna just last our mentorship. IOMIT 54 is under the Red Cross, as you know, and most of our activities or training and the ones that we want to charge, once you put a post out there, there's that perception like, you guys are supposed to be free. Why are you charging? So because we are under the Red Cross, and the Red Cross is known for being assistance, giving assistance to the community. But again, when we charge, or sometimes when we charge, the people who get to be in these activities are the privileged one, or the ones who can afford it. So the ones who cannot afford it are unable to attend this workshop. But yet, for us at Red Cross, our really people who wanna be working with the people who are less privileged. So we were discussing that with Anna, and I just want to hear your view also on that. And what do you think? How do we approach such? Because let's say we have a level strategy training, or we have a digital workshop at the Fab Lab, and we want to charge, let's say, 1,000. But again, this 1,000, the community can afford, but this community cannot afford. So, and as Red Cross, we still need to keep our image out there that we are for the Red Cross and we are here to help the society. So, just want to hear your view on that.
Yeah, I think it's you got to decide if you're running the workshop as part of your outreach, so part of your mission, or you're running the workshop as a way to make money, because you can't, like I said, you can't do both at the same time. So you could do like a buy one, give one type thing where you say to the privileged people, you're paying this much for the event, and then for every person that comes, we're going to train an underprivileged person. That might work. Or you might just charge more for those events, and then do for every 10 people you make money out of, you have a bit more resources to do a free workshop once a month. But then I think, if you're going to do the workshops for free, then you've got to make them lower cost. So you've got to use less materials, use less facilitator time. So you might have to kind of give the freebie option like on a Saturday where it's like a DIY thing, or there's less resources allocated to it. Otherwise, you've got to sell the workshop for the underprivileged or the people who can't afford it to a funder, to a sponsor. So it's a lot easier to sell a workshop than it is to get just someone to write you a check, just like, hey, support the Makerspace, like here's a check. But if you say we're running a workshop, we've got 10 people here, that here are the people that are coming, we need $5,000, 5,000 Rand, $500 to run this workshop, would you sponsor it? And you go to each embassy, or you go fund local businesses, then they can put their branding on it, or say like, we sponsored these 10 people. So we've done that in the past as well, and that works. It's a lot easier because you've got to focus. If you just go like, support the Makerspace and give us some money, support us, give us a donation, it's hard for people to action it. But when you say we've got an event happening in 2 weeks' time, these are the 20 people that are coming, this is their background, we need someone to pay, we've only got enough for 2 so far, we need another 18. How much can your business give towards this? And then you go, okay, we'll sponsor 10. And then individuals, so when we did it at an event, we did it for orphans, and we put it out there, and like we had an individual give us 9 tickets, and we had some people just giving us 1 ticket, and we had a company giving us 20, and you put that all together and run a workshop. But it is a lot of work. It's like a lot of marketing and work for not much. But again, it depends how your Makerspace works. At the end of the day, the point of this learning and this teaching is, how do you run events to make revenue for your space, to keep your space sustainable? So maybe the events you're talking about are the events that you have to fund sponsorship and funding for. Then keep those separate and run other events that are for the people who are willing to pay. If there's a market of people willing to pay, charge them every week and just start making some revenue. Then you can figure out what to do with the revenue once you have it. As far as the branding goes, maybe there's a problem with branding it as Red Cross if you're doing a professional workshop or a consumer workshop, or so you got to figure that out. Like maybe you want to create a separate brand for the events, call it Red Events, and then it's like, it's not the Red Cross, it's you guys, but you're using and you're renting the machines from the Red Cross, you pay subsidizing towards your costs and your overheads so that you can fulfill your mission work. It's hard. I mean, we all battle with that. We all want to do good, and we all want to help people who need help. But we have to also like allocate the resources correctly. So if you're giving away a free workshop, you have to get that money from somewhere. And if you don't have the money, you can't give. So yeah, hopefully you find a way to use the events like we've talked about today as a way to create a little bit more resources. And then even if it's 1 in 10, so for every 10 people that buy a ticket, you do 1 person that couldn't afford it gets invited. And then again, my point's about making people pay, even if they are going to be sponsored, the mechanism of payment is very important. Getting a person to pay and to register, because of that contract that happens, even if it's 1 coin, whatever your local currency is, they give something, they have to pay something. It also, like as a person, it feels more, it's not always nice to have to receive things and to be like handouts, people don't feel a sense of self-pride and self-worth when everything's given to them. So sometimes giving them a way to pay, even though it's 1/10 of what it actually costs, but they're paying something. For them it feels good, and for you it locks them in and makes them committed to that process, much more buy-in than if they don't pay anything. And then if you take those coins and you add them up and you sponsor 1 more person, you don't have to, you talk to that with your sponsor. But we always push our sponsors and explain to them, the reason we're doing this is because it's actually going to make it better, not worse. Hope that helps. Okay, Gertrude, you got a question?
Yes, so more of an addition to the conversation we had about the hosting workshop for kids. So I'm thinking another way that we could also go about it is to partner with schools. So the responsibility of, making sure the kids stay put would be on the teachers. It could be like an extracurricular activity for the schools. And that way, the school would also be more responsible, that is getting the parents to pay for it. If they're also going to get cuts, it's a win-win for both. And then the responsibility for taking care of the kids would also lie on the teachers. So that's another way we can look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, partner with the schools for sure. Definitely, if you're working with kids, definitely. schools are always desperate to have innovation and technology, and but unfortunately, there's not always a lot of money to be made. Again, I'm bad at charging children, so like I haven't monetized that very well. Maybe some of you guys have done that and have a sort of upper end private school children that you can monetize. I think Felix points about parents, like dad and lad or dad and daughter days. There's instant value before you even do anything. The fact that you've given a dad and his daughter 3 hours together, or mom and her son, or 3 hours together, you've created, like, whatever you're charging, half of that is you've given that value already. So, you know, that's kind of where, like, hacking the system, where you've got to create the value somehow. And if you create the value all by you doing stuff and buying stuff and having to supply stuff, then there's nothing left. But if you create the value by getting the right people together, it doesn't cost you anything, talking to your existing audience, creating a nice atmosphere, hosting and facilitating, doing something you already enjoy. Like it's almost like free money. It feels like it sometimes. Okay, well, unless there's anything else, I think we should wrap it up there. Anna, I'll just hand over to you to.
That's great. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you for the for your time and for the preparation you put into this, for sharing all your insights. I think there's absolutely masses of really valuable information in there, and all the notes that people have been contributing into the chat as well, experiences of those who are in the audience, very valuable as well. So thank you all for taking part in this.
Sorry, I've just thought of something, and I'm not interrupting you, but
sure.
Just to leave on a note, because I feel like we can't just be listening and not doing. Like, we have to be putting stuff into practice. So I want to put a challenge out to every single one of you that's been on this call to organize an event. Aim for at least 5 people, and use the resources, the knowledge, the experience, the competence, whatever you have in your workshop, in your thing. It doesn't have to be branded necessarily by a makerspace. It could just be you running a workshop for your local thing. Do it on a Saturday or on an evening. Thursday evenings used to be our time for running workshops. But let's do it. Like, let's actually make an event, do an event, and then we'll start to see that, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and the opportunities. Because again, it's the point of this is we're looking for ways to fund operations of our makerspaces. And even if it's for you as a side hustle, do it, because that knowledge will come back to your makerspace and will benefit your makerspace. You're going to end up contributing towards the machine time, and it's a good thing. So figure out a way, either with your partners, with your space officially or unofficially. Set a date, 3 to 4 weeks time, and then get hold of me. If you need any advice, or yeah, if there's anything else I can add. But I'd love us to see, as part of this package, like, that we tried, I don't know if you can facilitate that, Anna. There's a way, yeah. But yeah.
I really love that, Steve. I think that's so important, because the amount that you'll learn from having a go at it yourself is just like leaps and bounds different to, to what you'll learn by listening to other people, or then, sitting around and thinking about it. And for sure, if it's the first one you've done, there'll be lots of things you learn from that about how not to do it again, but that's an essential part of the process. So perhaps we can try and facilitate another session in 4 or 5 weeks time, to get some feedback on how these have gone. I think that could be really exciting. So yeah, thanks for the challenge, Steve. I think that's awesome. We are over time, so I'm going to have to wrap it up now. The very final thing I wanted to say was that last year we ran a series of webinars, discussions with makerspaces, and also some sort of dedicated companies that have with similar business models. And there was one discussion that we did around events and edutainment, and I'm just going to put a link in the chat to the YouTube video of that one, because it's a similar topic. So if you're wanting to explore it a bit more, and hear some other perspectives and other insights into how to make that work, then please try having a look at that as well. So I think we'll leave it there for today. But once again, thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate that. And I think this has been a great session. Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Sorry.